If you work in cosmetics, you've probably heard you need to test for nitrosamines. But do you know why? Or where they're even coming from in your formulation? Because when they do, and they go undetected, you've got serious regulatory and health problems. So today we're going to talk about ATNC, the apparent total nitrosamine content. It's the key method for testing nitrosamines in cosmetics. We'll break down what nitrosamines are, how they get into your products, why they matter, and what ATNC testing actually involves. If you're formulating cosmetics or managing compliance, this is where it gets important. But before we talk about testing, we need to get clear on what we're actually looking for. Nitrosamines are a class of chemical compounds that contain a nitroso-functional group, basically a nitrogen atom bonded to an oxygen atom and linked to an amine. Chemically, they're formed through a reaction between amines and nitrosating agents, which we'll come back to shortly. So why does this matter? Well, because many nitrosamines are known to be toxic and carcinogenic. They've been studied extensively in food, pharmaceuticals, and industrial chemicals. Their risks come from the way that they interact with DNA, causing mutations that can lead to cancer. In cosmetics, the nitrosamine that comes up most often is Andella. It's classified as a probable human carcinogen by the IARC, and regulatories worldwide are focused on keeping it and others like it out of consumer products. Now, nitrosamines aren't something manufacturers add on purpose. They show up unintentionally, forming as byproducts during production or gradually over the product's shelf life. Which brings us to the bigger issue. It's not just about how these compounds form, it's about what happens when they're found. Nitrosamines aren't just a formulation issue, they become a serious regulatory concern. Regulators around the world are clear. These compounds should not be in cosmetics. In the EU, nitrosamines are banned under Regulation EC 1223/2009. There's a small allowance for trace levels, but only when their presence is technically unavoidable and scientifically justified. Even then, they must stay well below safety thresholds. In the US, the FDA has flagged nitrosamine contamination in several product categories, from personal care items to pharmaceuticals. The result? Product recalls, increased scrutiny, and tighter oversight. Other markets are following suit. Countries like Canada, Japan, and South Korea are aligning with these standards. If nitrosamines are present in your formulation, you need to know about it and prove that you're managing the risk. Which brings us to the next question. How are nitrosamines actually getting into cosmetics in the first place? Well, nitrosamines form when amines, like triethanolamine or diethanolamine, come in contact with nitrosating agents, usually nitrites or nitrates. And this happens under acidic or heated conditions. These ingredients are common. They're found in shampoos, creams, lotions, even sunscreens. Over time, even small traces of precursors like amines or nitrites can react under the right conditions. That includes heat, low pH, or interactions between preservatives and other ingredients. If raw materials are impure or your formulation isn't well controlled, the risk of formation increases, sometimes after the product has already left your hand. So even if your product was clean at the time of manufacturing, it might not stay that way. Once you understand how and why nitrosamines form, the next step is figuring out how to find them, before regulators do. In cosmetics, the most widely used approach for this is ATNC analysis. ATNC stands for the apparent total nitrosamine content. It's a broad screening method that quantifies all volatile nitrosamines in a sample, not just one specific compound like Andella. ATNC won't tell you which nitrosamines are present, but it will tell you if they are, and at what level. That's often the first step before more detailed compound-specific analysis. So what should you actually be doing about all this? If you're responsible for formulation, quality, or compliance, you need to do two things. You need to minimize the risk of nitrosamine formation in your formulation. That means checking raw material quality, understanding your ingredient interactions, and looking at preservative choices. And you also need to test regularly, especially for high-risk products like those with amine or anything stored for long periods. At Ellutia, we've developed our ATNC testing method to run on our own ATNA system. This is a platform built around precise detection of nitroso compounds. The system first gives you a picture of the total NO content in your sample. Then, using bio-based chemistry, we can remove the nitrate contribution from that total. What you're left with is a clear and accurate reading of the apparent total nitrosamine content. It's a reliable way to get consistent data on nitrosamine presence, whether you're running tests in-house or working with a partner lab. ATNC testing is typically used as a screening tool. If the result shows that the nitrosamine levels are below the regulatory limit, the product can be considered safe and go on without further testing. If the results indicate levels above the threshold, further analysis is needed, usually a speciated method to identify and accurately quantify the specific nitrosamines that are present. If you're formulating cosmetics and you haven't looked into ATNC testing, now's the time. Nitrosamines won't announce themselves, but regulators will. You'll find more info, links, and contact options in the description. If you've got questions, drop them in the comments. If you find this information useful and want more content like it, hit like and subscribe. It helps us know what to make next. And that's it. Thanks for watching.